There's a lot of talk about inflammation and anti-inflammatory diets. So, is it all hype or is it actually worth buying into? Let's find out. Hey everyone, welcome back to Inc. Nutrition, where we are all about mind, body, and food. My name is Jack, Registered Dietitian. I am here to help translate the science of nutrition so that you can live a healthier and happier life. Please like, comment, and subscribe for videos every week. So first up, what actually is inflammation? It's a pretty broad term that describes a lot of processes that go on in the body, in particular how it responds to certain threats, injuries, stress, right? And I think a lot of time when we hear the word inflammation, we think of it in a negative way. However, it can be very helpful and protective when done in an acute way, right? When we get an injury or when we get sick, certain things happen in the body to begin that healing process, which involves acute inflammation. So that's very natural, right? We want our body to do that. The problem happens when we have chronic, low-grade inflammation. Okay, that is really the true root to a lot of illnesses, and it's directly associated with things like diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions. I mean, a lot. Most illnesses honestly have some underlying chronic inflammation. So there's a lot of things that can cause this underlying inflammation. Things that we definitely know: excessive alcohol intake, smoking, poor sleep quality, stress, even excessive exercise. But maybe the biggest one is diet, what we actually put in our bodies, how we eat. Hence the creation of the anti-inflammatory diet. And I put that in quotes because there's not really one standard anti-inflammatory diet. It's definitely not just a diet in the typical sense. It's more of a way of selecting and preparing foods based on scientific knowledge of how those ingredients in foods can target certain inflammatory pathways and help your body maintain optimum health. So the question that everybody wants to know the answer: does it work? I'm gonna say yes and no. It always depends. It's kind of hard to actually study the effects of the anti-inflammatory diet because there's no real standardized diet, okay? A lot of the research actually looks at the Mediterranean diet, which does have a lot of anti-inflammatory benefits. And when you look at big population studies, there certainly are a lot of benefits when it comes to reducing certain inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, a lot of interleukins, and that's fantastic. And I'm talking about long-term studies as well. So there's definitely something to this. And furthermore, there are definitely some specific ingredients and compounds that we for sure know can reduce inflammation in a good way, right? So let's talk about those. What are the very best foods, dietary patterns to follow if you want to begin reducing some systemic inflammation? So I personally, based on the research, think that there are 5 big categories that have the biggest impact at reducing inflammation in the body. We're talking herbs and spices, healthy fats, antioxidant-rich fruits, allium vegetables, and cruciferous vegetables. What are those? So before I give you examples of those specific foods, all of them kind of follow very similar mechanisms of action, how they actually do reduce the inflammation in the body, which typically involves turning off certain inflammatory pathways, like the NRF2 pathway, or down-regulate certain inflammatory compounds and cytokines. The first category, herbs and spices. Which ones that you actually probably have in your pantry right now are the most effective at reducing this inflammation? I would say turmeric, ginger, rosemary, and cinnamon. Okay, so use those liberally on all foods. Plus, they make things taste much better. Next would be healthy fats. So the best sources there are gonna be avocados, nuts and seeds, fatty fish, especially salmon for that omega-3, and then high quality oils. All right, and a quick note on the oils, they all have a little bit of a different smoke point. So for example, olive oil, you don't really want to use it when cooking things at a very high heat because then that can release actually inflammatory compounds. So consider sauteing lightly or just drizzling olive oil to finish a dish. Avocado and coconut oil, on the other hand, can tolerate high heat. But yeah, most people do not get actually enough of those healthy fat ingredients, so please have all of those available at all times in your pantry or in your fridge. And then we have antioxidant-rich fruits. I would say the big category here are gonna be berries. All berries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, they're all pretty good and they're all very powerful and medicinal in terms of reducing inflammation. So it's summertime, all of these are starting to come in season. Please visit your farmer's market and load up on all of these berries. And then there are two big categories of vegetables that are extremely powerful at reducing the inflammation. One would be allium, so we're talking garlic, onions, chives, leeks, all right? Things that you probably use often, but you should use even more. One quick fact about garlic, if you actually chop that up and leave it on the counter for about 10 minutes, it will release a compound called allicin, which is extremely medicinal in a good way at reducing inflammation. And then finally, cruciferous vegetables are things like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. All right, those are all, I think, really tasty, but amazing at turning off inflammatory pathways inside the body. They really act as like a fire hose at flushing out inflammation. So please, next time you're making a vegetable medley, consider some of those. So in conclusion, is the anti-inflammatory diet a real thing? I think it's a pretty big, broad term, and I do believe in a lot of the powerful effects of certain ingredients, all the ones I mentioned today, and you're likely gonna benefit, your health is gonna benefit if you include more of those foods, but it's not the end-all, be-all, right? And it's kind of common sense. All those foods are foods that you know are healthy anyways, all right? So yes, it will reduce inflammation and possibly help prevent certain illnesses and just make you feel good and give you more energy throughout the day. So I definitely encourage incorporating a lot of those anti-inflammatory foods. I hope you learned something today. If you have any comments, questions, please drop them down below. Thank you very much for following. If you want me to talk about anything else in the world of nutrition, also let me know. My name is Jack, Registered Dietitian with Inc. Nutrition. I hope everybody has a delicious day. Thanks so much.